Hello, everybody, and welcome to this weekend's 30 Minutes. Can't believe how we're doing this again, and I'm going to tell you, today is one I want you to listen to, especially because if you have children, this is something you need to know about. My guest today is Kristi Townes. She is a wonderful advocate of caring for kids. She is the Tennessee Teen Institute director and a lot of other things that she does, and I'm very, very proud to be able to have her on our studio mic today. Kristi, what do you do?
That's a great question, Paul. People ask me that all the time. I actually have a background in prevention, and I have a lucky job of directing the Tennessee Teen Institute, which is it's a year-round program, but we have a huge week event that is an alcohol and drug prevention-based and leadership program for students from across the state of Tennessee.
How'd you get into this job?
I actually have no idea. I went to school at UTM, and I ended up being a DCS case manager. And somewhere along the line, I was asked to help put on a youth conference in Nashville. Someone from East Tennessee got up and started talking about this little thing they do called the East Tennessee Teen Institute. And I had a moment of, why don't we have one in West Tennessee? And my boss said, well, it has to do with some grant. And I wrote it, and we got it, and the rest is history. I eat, sleep, and breathe Teen Institute. If anyone that knows me knows that it's not just a job, it's kind of a way of life for me now.
Now, you told me off mic that you have about 500 plus young people coming to the University of Tennessee at Martin at a special weekend that is going to do something magical, maybe divine. I don't know. We don't know. But you've got a lot of people that are coming for this event. And first off, when is it?
June 7th through 12th this year. And it is our 10th year to host Teen Institute at UTM. We love the campus, and they love us. It started out 40 years ago this year in Tennessee. There are some in other states, but 40 years ago in Tennessee, someone had the idea that we needed to start educating students about the dangers of alcohol and drug use. Our program is teens 13 to 18, but we start education much earlier. It's just when they need to come and stay for a week on a college campus, 13 to 18 is a really good age. They started it as one camp. It happened at Swanee in 1986, and then they separated it, so there was one in West, Middle, and East Tennessee for several years. And in 2010, we brought it back together as one big camp, one big event for the whole state, which has become a really fun thing to see. I found coming all the way to West Tennessee, most people from East Tennessee don't drive this way. There's no mountains. So the first year we had it at UTM, I said, raise your hand if you've never been further west than Nashville. Half the room raised their hand, and they had no idea where they were and that we were still in the state of Tennessee. So UTM has become a great home for this event.
Well, I'm glad that we had this opportunity to talk about something that really parents need to be listening to, grandparents need to be listening to, family members need to be listening to. You're talking about children at the age of 4, really?
Yeah, 4 or 5, kindergarten. Everyone needs to start prevention with children very early these days. Whether, how we used to have fire safety and stranger danger and things like that, all of those things. Prevention is everything, but alcohol and drugs are very prevalent in our daily lives now.
They're in the bathroom.
They're everywhere. So to know what's good or bad and to do and not to do, starting early is the earlier the better, in my opinion. No, you don't have to tell everything to a 4-year-old, but they need to know there are dangers.
Well, Grandma and Grandpa keep their medicine right there on the light stool, and
know that that's a no-no. You don't take prescription medicine from someone else. Those lock boxes that the coalitions give out are excellent for that. So I think I've always been doing prevention. In high school, I hated cigarette smoke, so any of my friends that would smoke cigarettes, I would break their cigarettes and throw them out the window of the car. I didn't win brownie points with that, by the way. So I've laughed a few times that I grew up and actually have done tobacco prevention and things like that. So.
I'm going to jump backwards for just a moment. Take a moment and tell us about your parents through the years and how they were affected or helpful.
My mom and dad were always very open. Of course, I grew up in the 80s, so I was a definite 80s kid. Very honest about alcohol and drug use and what was right and what was wrong. I always had very open conversation with both of my parents. A lot of kids don't have that. That's changed a lot, I think, over the years. Parents have become better at communicating in some ways. Of course, social media and having phones also keeps us from communicating as well. So,
well, having known your
I'm
dad,
glad I didn't have that.
I'm glad I had a chance to know your dad, and I hauled hay for him, and I can talk about a lot of things. He was a great guy. And your mom, I know how much you love her, and I also can say that, she's somebody that touched my life also. You can tell her that later. But when you grow up in an environment when things are not too bad, then you're probably going to be okay. But then it's not necessary that because, well, go ahead and take it from there.
I think about my parents a lot and all the things they did. And one of their biggest influences on me was loving my community and giving back. I was comfortable. I had great parents and good family support. But even though you have that, the peer pressure and the things that are going on in the schools and with students and children in the world we live in right now is so different. And sometimes things can look perfect on the outside and they're not on the inside. And a lot of what prevention is getting to the root cause of things. And with back to Teen Institute, one of the things over the years that has come from this program that has been very eye-opening to me is I've talked to students after they've been to Teen Institute for a year. Maybe they didn't want to go. Their parents were making them go to this silly summer camp thing. And every one of them always says to me when they come to Teen Institute, they can be themselves. No matter where they're from, what color their skin is or anything, they can be themselves. So, my parents were they were a whole lot of fun, and there were a lot of adventures with them, but, I never felt like I couldn't talk to them and tell them what was going on. And I think we have a lot of that with students today. So.
Well, as you and I both know, a lot of parents don't have time for their kids.
Yes, very much so. And my parents were both workaholics. They had time for me, though. My mother was a Girl Scout leader and all of those things. But, work's important, but family's more important. And I had no idea when I went down this road of Tennessee. I literally was sitting in this huge conference, and I was just like, why don't we have one in West Tennessee for our kids? At the time I was working with teenagers in a different realm. And had no idea that 22 years later it would be 550 people big and from the whole state. At the time it was just this little thing we did in West Tennessee. We started out at Bethel, as a matter of fact, with about 180 people the first year.
That was pretty good.
And I thought so. I had no idea what I was getting into, so I'd never even seen one or how it ended during the week. So it's just grown, and that shows me the need for prevention programs for teenagers and a place where they can have their own voice. It's very much needed. It speaks for itself. There's so many stories. Everybody tells me I need to write a book just about Teen Institute and the things that you can't make up.
Well, do it.
I might one of these days. Yeah. It'll be my memoir, I guess.
Mm-hmm. If you just joined us, we're talking with a very nice lady and cares greatly about children. Kristi Townes, TTI director, that's Tennessee Institute. And I want to talk about this particular group. You're bringing 500 plus young people on the campus of UT Martin. You've done this before. Was it last year? Did you do it?
Yes, we've been on the UTM campus for 10 years now.
So where do you house these people?
So they actually come with one adult and 6 students. They can be from a Boys and Girls Club, a church group, a school group, an after-school program, and they come from all over the state, literally. We have Sullivan County all the way to Lake County and Shelby County and Hamilton County. And they come in on Sunday afternoon, and we house them in the dorms. I did find out the first year I had done this that a child came up on the way out of camp and looked at me and said, I've never been to a college campus before, and I think I'd like to go to college now. Well, that was one thing we never measured. We didn't even think that was something that this event would affect, and it did. So they stay in the dorms. They get to eat in the cafeteria. They go to general sessions. The keynote speakers are from all over the nation. Last year I had 2 or 3 from Canada even. And they have breakout sessions that are tough topics, but it's summertime and we do things in a fun way. Everything from healthy relationships to teen suicide, teen violence. One day is completely dedicated to driving issues. The Tennessee Highway Safety Office sponsors the entire day. And then they write an action plan to take back home with them to do some type of prevention program they've learned at this event for the week and implement it back in their own community. So it's also building, they will tell you, what is going on in their school or what they need. They learn from all of these keynotes and these breakout sessions, and they tell you what they think ought to happen and what programs they need. And if they need to bring a speaker to their school, or they need to have a mock crash, or they need to do a sticker thing before prom, any of those things.
I'm reading here from your message, the overall goal of the Tennessee Teen Institute is to promote the development of a healthy, safe, and drug-free lifestyle by impacting the attitudes and behaviors of youth across the state in the areas of alcohol, tobacco, drug abuse, violence, mental health, and vehicle safety. Can I talk to you about mental health? What is this? Yes. What is this about?
Well, mental health has become, it's in the news every day.
We got a lot of people killing people.
Mental health awareness.
In schools.
And in schools. A couple of years ago, we had just had a shooting in Tennessee prior to camp starting. And we even we have a balloon man that's from Paducah. I'll tell you about him later. He's awesome. And we had to be careful when his balloons actually popped because it was a trigger for these kids that had been near the shooting.
Sounds like a gun going off.
So we have a day, the Division of Family Health and Wellness from Department of Health and the Department of Mental Health also sponsor Teen Institute. And we have a lot of our keynote speakers that come in and talk about mental health, how to be aware of your mental health, how to recognize when someone else might be suffering or need help. In the suicide realm, how you go about, if you have a friend that's threatening it, what you do, what the phone numbers are, and overall well-being, how to take care of yourself, how to de-stress.
This is why you have this person up on the stage to talk to these students and tell them these things that you're talking about.
Yes, and these speakers, I'm very particular about who I ask to come and be a presenter at Teen Institute. All of them are nationally known, and their topics are just on target. Our theme this year is Harmony in Motion, Leadership in Action. We have a different theme every year. And a lot of it's going to circle around music this year. But, living in harmony, being able to work together to make things happen and to create a world that you can actually be nice to someone and change the way things are. That's sort of what we're going for this year.
Mm-hmm.
And we also want to instill that they can be leaders. Might not be the student that's the head football player or the head cheerleader or the president of the student body, but maybe that kid that's in those clubs that's a worker bee. That I was never the president of anything in high school, but I was the one that always jumped in and helped, but I was not brave enough to be a leader like that. So those kids are my favorite ones that come to this and they don't know why their parents are sending them there or why they have to go, and they come alive while they're at Teen Institute.
Do they usually have a buddy from wherever it is they're coming?
Well, we do have individual registrations where they can come by themselves. Most of the time they come with a team of 6 students.
I heard you say that earlier with one adult.
We have some different situations where we have a foster group coming and they're not necessarily from the same area. They'll all be working together on their action plan. And we have some individuals come, and we usually just help them work on their plan by themselves because this is an actual written plan that they turn in at the end of camp. They do have a buddy or 2 from home, but the big thing for Teen Institute is they come in on Monday night with their friends. I'm going to use Mylan as an example. So Coach Jason Carter from Milan Middle School brings probably 12 kids every year or more. And they get there, and they're wanting to be with their buddies from home. And they are, clinging together. We're at this camp. There's a lot of people running around screaming and cheering and chanting, and there's 100 of them wearing the same shirt, and they're wanting us to be happy. And they get broken into family groups. Our family groups this year are music instruments. There are 24 family groups that are peer-led. The whole camp is peer-led. So for 3 days prior to the participants coming in, I have a youth staff. We train for 3 days to actually lead the family groups at TTI. Some of those students have grown up. They started when they were 14 years old as a participant, and they're 34 years old now, take their vacation and come back to help at TTI for a week. It's a great big family of people that support it.
Maybe a hard question for you to answer, but are any of these kids already in trouble at some point in their lives?
Here's my definition. I get asked this all the time. Is this a event for at-risk students, at-risk kids? Every child is at risk in the world we live in. Every teenager is at risk. The world we live in makes them that way. There's dangers on every corner just about now, whether it's peer pressure or, like you said, school shootings and things like that. So I kind of look at it like that. There may be some that might not have made the best choices, but we hope that by being here and being around this type of high energy, active program, that they'll make better choices when they go back home.
Well, let me follow that up. What does the University of Tennessee at Martin have for this group of people? 500 of them. They got to. I'm sure they're going to be in a cafeteria somewhere.
Yes.
And then I'll give you that.
So there are other great schools across our state. Of course, UTM is close by vicinity for Jackson, where my office is, and home. So we came to UTM that first year, and I was really worried about the East Tennessee folks, like I said, and driving that far. The campus is clean. The university center has enough space in that one building for us to break out into 4 different breakout sessions at a time, have our keynote events in the Watkins Theater. It's just amazing. The food is good. It's cafeteria food, but we like their food. They're friendly, they're kind, and they really understand that you've got potential students sitting in these seats for a week. I don't know what magic they do. There's a lot of people. There's a lot of trash, candy wrappers, and we're always picking up our own stuff and after ourselves, but that place is spotless when we get up in the morning. I don't know, there's some magic cleaner bee. Wish they'd come to my house, but it's just a good atmosphere. It's not too big. We can walk from the dorms straight up to the university center. We're able to have things like dances in the ballroom, and we're having a summer party event outside on the lawn in between Ellington and the other dorms. So they're always very accommodating. When we've had the Drive Smart Day is our Tennessee Highway Safety Office Day, we've had simulators, seatbelt simulators and trucks and things that they allow us to park out in the parking lot for the students to go through and to visit. So they're just very, it works.
Let me give you a couple of your own bullet points, and I think these are very good objectives. To increase one's self-esteem. What does that really mean for a young person at the age of 10 to 15?
Confidence in themselves to make good choices. Sometimes making a bad choice is not because you don't know the difference between right and wrong, but being confident enough to believe in yourself to make the right choice.
And here's one that I wanted to ask you about. Excuse me. To decrease the number of teens who use substances. Does that mean that there are students that are coming that have had issues, or are they seeing this for the very first time?
I wouldn't know the number exactly off the top of my head. We do evaluations on all of this at the end of camp. I would say it's a 50-50 that they've tried alcohol or drugs, or they've gotten in the car with someone who is drinking, or, we do everything. We measure everything from tobacco use to making choices like getting in the car or not wearing a seatbelt or, all of those things. So I'm going to say yes, many of them have tried, but hopefully they'll go home with more educated, the ability to have the educated guess information to not.
Kristi Townes is with us here. We're talking about an event that's coming up really soon. By the way, what is the date of this?
June 7th through 12th.
Okay. And this is on the campus of the University of Tennessee at Martin. I was just listening to your heartbeat on this because it seems to me that that's something very, very important. If somebody's coming in or has been associated with someone that has had a bout with meth or any other of these things, as a matter of fact, our news story just recently shared here in West Tennessee by the Attorney General Mike Donovan of how many adults have been arrested just recently during this past March. And I was shocked to see how much meth is showing up that people don't realize that it's maybe in the next door neighbor somewhere because they happen to have people those. And your job is to try to make sure these people don't ever go into that world.
Right. Well, I've come to find out, being in this prevention world for a long time, that there's not a single person that's not affected in some way or has not known someone that's had alcohol or drug issues. There's just nobody that I know that has not had a family member or a friend or a friend of a friend. So to have a week with students to give them the courage and the education they need to make healthy choices and to encourage them to do that and to actually let them feel like they have a purpose and they have a voice that they can go back and they can influence others to make healthy choices. That's sort of the basis for Teen Institute is their action plans that they write while they're at Teen Institute. For example, I'm just going to say one county does to have one of these keynote speakers come to their school because they've never had a keynote speaker before at their school. Things like that. We follow that throughout the year, and a lot of these students can go home and feel a part of something, whether it's a coalition or after school program. Like after they come to Teen Institute, this is how this goes. A lot of kids that come in on Sunday, they're the wallflower that are up against the wall, not saying a word. I literally have had parents call me on Friday when they've gotten home and said, "What did you do to my child? They won't be quiet." I've had that happen more than once, and how excited they are that their child actually engaged, and now they won't be quiet because it's very high energy. It's contagious. You may not want to sing and cheer or dance like a penguin or whatever we're doing, but in a few minutes you realize you might as well join in, and nobody's going to laugh, and nobody's, you can be who you are. So
I didn't give you a chance, and maybe we didn't think about this, but you got 500 and plus. I want to know how many you have people coming in, but there's a lot of give back to the community because I'm sure these people aren't getting paid. But to my point is you have a lot of people that are there to help these young people.
We have the staff. When I say staff, I mean volunteers staff. I mean the students that are peer leaders. We have an extreme team that are adults that come, and some of them work with me year round. This is not something that's planned overnight. I'm already working on 2027, and 2026 hadn't happened yet. So we have a staff of around 100 out of that 550. And
these are people that are giving their own time.
Yes, giving their own time. They help with donations. Of course, we're a nonprofit. We need, how many snacks it takes to feed 500 people? A lot.
500 snacks.
500 snacks a day.
One day.
So, we get people to do donations like Coke and Little Debbie's and things that we can do those fun things with. But their time, again, I could tell stories about the actual humans that helped me do this for days, and the stories and the things they've given up. But it's just, it's an amazing thing to watch, and you need to come and see it if you get a chance to come visit that week.
June 7th through the 12th, 2026, University of Tennessee at Martin, Tennessee Teen Institute. You've told me earlier that looks like you've sold out. Don't have any more places. Is it still possible that if we can put our name on, can I come maybe if somebody drops out?
Well, yes, you just have to give us a call at this point. Applications are due, and we've had some people that have been on the reservation list for months. So it's just kind of got a mind of its own at the moment.
Mm-hmm. You have some people that are right close to you that are helping you, that acknowledge of these folks?
Yes. I have an assistant, Danielle Jones, who's also from Martin, and she is handling the people part at the moment with all the applications.
I want to not let you slip away by forgetting to say the following words. Parents, you got to love your children more than anything else, because nobody's going to love your kids any more than mom and daddy.
Exactly. And at Teen Institute, we instill those things, and a lot of the students that have come back to be on staff for years have told me TTI is like home. So, I mean, I can get teary and tell you many, many stories, but I'm proud that those are the feelings that they take home from this special event that is 40 years old this year in Tennessee.
I'm going to be open about this, and I'm asking, is there an opportunity to pray? Is there an opportunity to get some Jesus on you? I mean, I just wonder if this happens as well.
It does. It does. Yeah. It happens several times at camp. So this, people ask me about it, and I'm like, it's an experience. TTI is an experience. You can't describe it. I can sit here and talk to you till tomorrow morning about it. But unless you come and see it and witness it and meet some of these amazing kids that we have in Tennessee, you just won't ever believe it until you see it.
Can we tell them that there is a place where you shown me the video? Is it on one of your
It's on our website. It's teeninstitute.net.
Say it again a couple of times.
teeninstitute.net.
Okay, if you want to see what we've been talking about, I saw it here a couple of days ago, and I said, oh, wow.
Well, the video I sent you actually tells a really good story. The videos tell the story better than I can sit here and tell it.
Got just a minute. I know you want to give back to some people, and one of those would be the Weakley County, the Obion County, Henry County, all of these people.
The prevention coalitions across the state are great supporters. Of course, Jacoa and Jackson, Tennessee Highway Safety Office, State Farm, Department of Mental Health, and Department of Health of the state of Tennessee. They all care a lot about the teens across the state and the prevention and education we can give them to make healthy choices.
I'll leave the last words here on the word Jacoa, which stands for
Jackson Area Council on Alcoholism and Drug Dependency.
And those folks care greatly about, and this takes us through here in West Tennessee, right where we are as well. Jacoa has been around a long time, maybe 30, 40 years, I don't know, but
1964.
Well, okay. That's 62 years then. So thank you so much, Kristi Townes, for what you do. I think being able to tell the story makes it a lot easier and makes people realize those kids aren't over there just to jump around. They're going to get a message from somebody that's going to touch their heart somewhere along the way.
Yes.
Hope you've enjoyed our program today. Thank you very much, everybody, for listening to this week's 30 Minutes program. Kristi Townes is our guest here today, the Tennessee Teen Institute. Paul Tinkle, pre-recorded here on 30 Minutes.
You've been listening to 30 Minutes, a community affairs program on Thunderbolt Radio. You can listen to this broadcast and others anytime by visiting thunderboltradio.com and following the Thunderbolt Radio and Digital YouTube page. Thanks for listening.